This is the Jeff Jerina Show.
Hey, what's going on? It's Jeff here, and welcome back to the podcast. And on today's Daily Fuel episode, I'm going to start it today with a quick story. And the reason why is because the story here really sets up and relates with the whole focus of this particular Daily Fuel episode. So what happened was probably about, 3 weeks to 4 weeks ago, there's a tree in our front yard. And it was apparent here that this tree was not doing well. It was not looking healthy. The leaves were kind of, starting to get real brittle, and the branches themselves were just really starting to get dried out. And so obviously what it needed was water, right? It needed some nourishment. And me not being a green thumb, I thought, okay, let me go back to something I've done before when I've had, maybe another tree in another home that wasn't looking so good. Let me kind of do the same process and see if it, I can bring it back to life. And so what I did was I started watering it. And then I got this fish emulsion and then some other kind of like some plant fertilizer. I did that for a couple of days. And then the next thing you know, about 2 weeks later, this tree, maybe even a week later, you could tell the tree was starting to come back to life. I mean, it was getting the nourishment that it needed. And then now, 4 weeks down the road, this tree is healthier than it's ever been before. I mean, it's looking better than it ever has before. In fact, my wife said something about it about 3 days ago. She said, wow, that tree is looking amazing. What happened? And I told her, I said, look, I started doing this fertilizer treatment. I started nourishing it again. I started feeding it again. And so the reason why I share that story, if you think about this illustration here of fertilizing or feeding a tree, it's obvious here that our bodies need the same thing, right? We need water, we need food, we need nutrients, we need vitamins, we need rest. We need those things to live, to survive, to thrive. But here's the thing, your mind works the same way. Whatever you feed grows. And if you don't feed it, eventually it's going to die, right? Now, I want to take this a step farther here though, because if you're feeding something that shouldn't be fed, that's going to be growing, right? If you're feeding weeds, they're going to grow. They're going to prosper. So you don't want to do that, right? You want to be feeding healthy things. Feeding things, i.e. from it, we bring this here to our lives. Feed those things in your life that are beneficial to you and to others. So let me just ask you straight up here. What are you feeding today in your life? And more specifically, what are you feeding your mind right now? Because every thought is a seed, if we think about it that way. Now, some of those thoughts are going to grow weeds, right? Such as anxiety, doubt, bitterness, unforgiveness, fear. But some of those are also going to grow fruit, and we hope more of those are going to grow fruit. Peace, purpose, confidence, faith. Now, let's be honest here. We're not going to be able to control every thought that pops up, right? And the reason why is because life is loud. I mean, there's a lot of noise. It's busy. It's messy. And we're going to get hit with stress. We're going to get hit with fear. We're going to get hit with comparison. These things are just a normal part of everyday life. But here's the thing. You and I, we can control what stays. And we do that by what we water, what we're feeding. And here's a saying that I love. You can't stop birds from flying over your head, right? But you can stop them from building a nest in your hair. It's the same with your thoughts. You don't have to entertain every lie that flies in. And maybe not even a lie. It's just, something that's not good for you, not healthy to you. You don't have to entertain that. And there's an author by the name of James Allen. He wrote a book. It's called As a Man Thinketh, and you may have heard of it. And he says in here in the book, he says, you are today where your thoughts have brought you. You will be tomorrow where your thoughts take you. And so the reality is right now you may be stuck. And you may be stuck here because of your thoughts or your thought pattern. And so if we want to take that a step farther here, we would say this. The truth is that thoughts become beliefs in some way, right? Good or bad. And those beliefs, good or bad, shape your behavior. And that behavior, good or bad, builds your habits. But if we're starting out with good thoughts, chances are our beliefs are going to be better. Chances are our behavior is going to be better. And then from that, Your habits are going to help to form who you are, who you believe to be true about yourself, how you interact with others. But here's a quick step that you can take right now. You can actually do this right now. You can start right now in this moment. And this is especially for you if you're struggling in some aspect of your life, especially with your thoughts. Here's what I would tell you to do. Starve the lies. And instead, feed your mind with the truth. Because as you already know, we're not going to grow fruit by watering the weeds around the fruit tree, right? It's just not going to happen. Eventually, the weeds are going to take over. And so let's just get practical here for a second. I want to give you an action step today. If you're willing to do this, I would just encourage you to identify just one lie or negative thought that you've been feeding. Maybe it's something like you're not disciplined enough, or you'll never succeed, or you know what, you're too far away from getting to that point or to that a goal that you want to achieve. And I want you to flip that around and replace that lie, that misbelief, that limiting belief. I want you to replace it with truth. And I want you to speak it out loud. Say something like, I'm growing in consistency every day. God didn't bring me this far to leave me now. I'm equipped and called to make an impact, and I will get to where I want to go by this such and such time. And then after you say it, I want you to write it down and repeat it and take a screenshot of it. Keep it on your phone. Put it as a daily reminder until you've got that so ingrained in your mind, in your DNA, that you're never going to have those doubts again. And hey, if this episode spoke to you, if you got something from this podcast today, I'd love to hear from you. Or maybe you've got a story that you'd like to share and you think it can be an encouragement to somebody else. If that's the case, hit me up on my contact page at jeffjerina.com/contact. And who knows, I might even give you a shout out on a future podcast episode. And hey, one last thing here before you go. If you have not done so already, make sure you subscribe to the Ignite newsletter. This is my way to communicate to you. And hey, it's free to join. It's free to sign up. Again, that's jeffjerina.com/newsletter. And with all that said, remember, feed the truth, starve the lies, and always keep moving forward. I'll talk to you soon. God bless.